Okay, hello Alan. This is my taster reel for Unit 30. Just covering camera equipment first, and as a sub to camera equipment, camera controls. I'm demonstrating this on the Canon EOS 60 Mark I with a 35mm standard wide Canon lens on it. Recording it from my own Sony NEX3. Now, I'm just going to take the lens off, which will be a good start. And I was going to focus this on Heather Graham, but she went off on a cup of coffee with Orlando Bloom. Hate Orlando. So it will just have to be the first aid box for now. Sorry about that, Alan. Now, looking at the shutter speed first, but what I'm going to do is I want to first check, just going into menu there, and with my keys just going across to video system to see if it's set on PAL. That's the kind of encoding system which is set on a PAL format, which is very UK compatible. So I'm happy with that. And now I'm going to go over into movie recording size, and I can see there that it's set at 1920 times 1080, which is a high definition picture resolution. Fine with that. It's at 24 frames per second, which is a digital cinema norm for the UK, and All-I is a compression method which generates a higher quality. So I'm absolutely happy with that setting there. So I'm just going to press the menu button, go back to menu, and now I'm going to press it again to go to the actual electronic viewfinder, and just looking into the electronic viewfinder, the actual shutter speed is set by the main control panel, which is just behind the shutter button. So I'm going to use an actual rule of thumb, which is closest times 2 of the frames per second. So as I said earlier, that's at 24, so the closest will be 1/50th of the frames per second. So 24 times 2, 48, 50th will be the closest. I'm not going to be doing any high-speed action, maybe, but I'll go higher as this is going to cover the motion a lot better. But I'm happy with 50 for now. If that had to be set, you just basically use the main control dial, and as you can see there, I'm happy with 50 there. Now moving on to the aperture or f-stop. I've covered this in my presentation, PowerPoint presentation, but again, the size of the hole, size of the iris, which lets light in through the lens. So the larger the hole, the lower the f-stop. Now, basically, we have a lot of light here at the minute. You know, we're working under 50 hertz of light. So as we have high elements of light here, I'm going to use a smaller aperture, and I'm really happy with 4. I'm just going to experiment here on what it looks at 5.6 and at 8, but at the present moment I am happy with 4. Very happy with 4. ISO is a button just located behind the main control dial. Just going to press that there, and that is set at 1000, and that is something which I fixed earlier on. I mean, at 1000, if I just set that there at 1000, I've noticed that the actual image of the first aid box is something which is really in real time, in screen, in focus. So I'm actually very, very happy with that. I'm happy with my exposure. Now, earlier on I actually focused in. The best way to do that is basically zoom in, magnify in, and I'll probably magnify in closer, and I can even see the lowest font. I feel as if I'm in Specsavers. So I'm just going to zoom out of that there as I focus pretty much well in there, and focusing out, I'm happy with my exposure. Now I'm going to go, oh by the way, did you look at my hands? I went to Philippine nail bar, and I finished it off with E45. So my manicure pedicure really went well. So please admire the hands as well. So I'm now going to go into my white balance. So if we go into menu, and I'm just going to flick across. And there we are. It's actually set at 5600 Kelvin, which I'm very happy with. And that's the average noon daylight color temperature. So I'm happy with my white balance. I'm not going to manually set it because from looking at it on screen, I'm very happy with my exposure. And I'm happy with the kind of white object that is covering, and that's the white I want. I feel that that is the appearing naturally on the screen, and will appear naturally on the film. So happy with that. The Canon EOS 6D records on a format H.264 or MPEG-4 Part 10. It's an AVC, so basically it's a motion compensation based video compression standard. It's one of the most commonly used formats for recording, and that is the format that it uses, that it's standard, and I've never had any issues when bringing it off to the editing suite from anything that I've covered on my SD card. So absolutely great. That is my camera controls over. Just switching off now. Thank you. Medium shot. This is a camera angle in which I really can see that I'm picking up on the character's moments and gestures. So when I was interacting with Joe, I could clearly see that I will be able to get someone's capture, say for example if they were on a phone and they were talking and they were making expressions with their hands and so forth. The medium shot just fits well. Close-up. Close-up really shows detail, and it can be used as a cut-in also. You can really see the person on what they want to express in detail, and it becomes more intense to see as well. Wide shot. This is really to show where Joe is located, so where the subject is located, and it really kind of distinguishes where the scene is taking place. So in this case, in this Cirque studio, but we can get a feel that yes, it is taking place, it is being recorded in the studio. Group discussion. You can get a kind of a complete coverage of both Gerard and Joe, and it's just really great for presenters, and it's also, it can be used for audience cutaways if it was some form of a debate show, talk show. Pose focus. This is a real creative cinema camera technique in which you change from shot to shot, so from foreground to background. In foreground we have Joe, on the background we have the fire extinguisher, and we can focus in between both of them. Now we move on into zoom. It reveals really Joe's intentions, as you get closer. It shows size, it shows perspective, and this is used a lot in cinema, and I can get that from the example that I'm showing also, that it's showing size, it's showing perspective. Dolly shot conveys a sense of tension and vertigo. For example, as I'm zooming in, I get this kind of sense of doom, and as I'm zooming out, I can get that sense of some form of relief. Tracking. This is a unique snapshot of stretch of surface parallel to the actor. So in this case, I'm actually getting a snapshot of how and where the character is starting and where he's ending on this parallel track shot. Jib. This gives a bird's eye view, so I've got Nigel to walk from the very end and approach what I feel is an above action down to eye level, in which I'm trying to show really that, you know, he's thinking of maybe, shouldn't use this word, but suicide from the wires coming down. Solder jig. This is great when you're following an object through twist and turn. So I'm following Joe here outside Cirque Balnahinch, and I'm going to twist and turns and coming back to him, and it's a great way of getting a shot. Handheld, used in news journalism. It's a kind of a fly on the wall in which you want that information before the affairs are over, so you really want to get real-time live information, and you're there with your handheld to get it. And here I am in the corridor, not missing him, but actually getting him from the back quickly as well, and moving on. Slider. I can move into two perspectives. In this example, I'm moving from Gerard to Joe, and I'm getting both of their reactions. So I'm moving from one reaction to another, and it's a very slow slideshow, and it puts things in curiosity. Panning. This is really the distance between two objects, but I can clearly see two people doing different things, and that is nice to see. So you're moving from one emotion to another, and I wanted to get that across. Tilting. I really wanted to follow something being picked up, so Nigel's picking up his newspaper, so I'm following the subject from a stationary position where the object is stationary and what is actually going to happen to it in the end. So that curiosity is there, that suspense is there, and that is what's coming across in this shot. So that's great. Okay, hello, I'm in Cirque Balnahinch studio. Just wanted to go over lighting. I'm in studio. I've got all of my power supplies set up neatly, and I've got my cabling all tied up for health and safety reasons, and I'm just going to show you that I have my 3-point lighting system set up. So I have here 2 Kino lights, 500 watt each. I've got my Blondie light, that's 3000 watt, but 2000 watt, but I would need it to demonstrate hard light. The Kino lights are 5600K, and the Blondie light is 3200K. They've all got bar endurance, so I'm just going to go over and do my different techniques that are set. And as you can see, my camera is set up. I'm on stand. I'm not going to use it as a handheld. And you can see in the background there, just on the table, there's some gels which I'm about to utilize. Thank you very much. Looking forward to going ahead with all of the techniques. Thank you. Key light. Well, this highlights the actual subject. Yeah, it gives the subject dimension. This is the actual main light. In the key light, as I said in my studio introduction, I'm using the Blondie light, and I've set it in between flood and spot, which I like. I feel that it gives a right feel to Joe. Fill light. Fill light is used to lighten the actual shadow, and that is on the right hand side of where I've positioned the camera with the key light on the left. And this is really to not only lighten, but in some way to really scatter light so that you can see some form of filling in the key to what actual side effects is leaving in hard light. Backlight. Well, this is exactly what it does. It eliminates the subject from the back, but it also gets rid of the shadow also. So you can clearly see here from the 3 examples that this subject is shown in a different mode, and you can use this towards genre convention also. But you can see a different angle, a different dimension, a different feeling coming from him in every single direction of where light is coming from, respectively key, tilt, back. Low key. This is an angle beam of light, and it's really falling on the actual spot of the subject, and this is really to do with hard light going on the subject at specific angles. And in this case, you can see that the character Joe is looking really angry, so he can go towards the genre convention that represents this. High key. High key. this is, you can say, used in, say for example, like a serial like Friends, where everybody's happy, they're in a happy mode, and it's very much a kind of a happy, calm lighting. So it's there to highlight that there's an illumination of positivity, and that's what's coming across. Hard lighting, well, hard lighting as explained in the PowerPoint presentation, and you can clearly see in Joe's example, shadows which have hard edges, and you know, great definition, but very hard edges. So soft light, you can clearly see from my fill light, wraps light around Joe, and it actually diffuses the shadows. It casts the shadows with soft edges, and that on that particular light on the right hand side, that's larger than the subject, so that's the way it should be, and you can clearly see that we're getting a nice image of Joe. Gels, blue. I used blue. I wanted to create a happy scene, as if there is a spread of actual light appearing, a stream of light appearing, and there's a voice of God, and Joe's giving a reaction to that in a genre convention of just sheer happiness, and that is coming across. I did it as a tilt shot, and I like the fact that the blueness is spreading everywhere, it's diffusing everywhere from the Kino flow, and it really gives a nice edge. It really gives a nice effect to Joe. Diffuser, well, you can clearly see from the diffuser that I use, it softens the light, it scattered the light, and it made Joe's appearance look more pleasant. It brought it to normality, and it also made him look a lot more softer in perspective, also a lot more calmer. And this can also be used not only for softening light, but to bring across the emotions of the character at the time, which is extremely handy. Barn doors. Well, in this example here, you can see that we have a kind of like a feathery graduating effect. This is like, I suppose what I wanted to produce was as if light is streaming through, you know, a slightly closed window or a slightly closed door, and coming at that particular angle. So this kind of, you know, improvisation can be used if we don't have access to this type of strength of light coming in, and it works really well. Looks very natural. Cookies. Well, cookies is something. This is something which I made up myself. Made a pattern within a template, and you can see that the illumination is there. It's casting shadows, casting a silhouette, and it's really giving Joe an effect on people are becoming very inquisitive of where he is, what kind of character he is, and what his motives are, just from these very mutated characters which I've made with scissors in a template. And it does give the Joe a lot of body in the character that is coming across from this actual illumination of light. Gobo. I've used a metal template gobo to control the shape of the emitted light. So I use this in front of the Blondie, in between flood and spot, on putting it back a bit, from a bit of a distance at the back. And I really like the fact that it looks as if the cage effect which I wanted to produce is there. So I don't necessarily have to have an actual cage or an actual jail or closed-in environment. The audience can clearly see that he must be in some sort of enclosed area by actually relating to the finishing of the template gobo, which is metal squares all boxed in together. And this gives a story to where Joe could possibly be in this present real time. So it's absolutely really effective. Thank you very much. That is the end. Thank you.